Hello friends, Athena here, and since it's getting close to Valentine's Day, I thought I'd do a little review on the Natasha Denona Love Palette. This palette was part of her 2019 Valentine's Day collection. It retails for $65 US and it's available at quite a few retailers, including Sephora, Beautylish, LookFantastic, and of course Natasha Denona's website. Let's talk about the packaging. The eyeshadows come in a plastic component, the front of which is a pink glossy finish and the back is a pink soft matte finish. I find that soft matte finishes usually stain very easily. On the back of my palette, I already stained it with foundation and a little bit of red eyeshadow. One of the really great things about Natasha Denona's packaging is that the eyeshadows tend to be magnetized in, and the back includes these little holes so that you can pop the eyeshadows out in order to rearrange them. Of course, her newer palettes do include the names printed on the inner component, so if you do choose to rearrange your palette, the names are going to be a little out of order. Inside the palette you get 15 shades total, 6 shimmers, 7 matte shades, and 2 which appear to be a cream to powder formula. In terms of price per gram, this eyeshadow palette contains 19.25 grams of product, meaning each eyeshadow is 1.28 grams a piece, and this breaks down to $3.38 per gram of product. Let's talk about my experience with this eyeshadow palette. So I've been using this palette for a few days now, and I find that the matte shades are fairly easy to work with. It's not the type of matte eyeshadow that's going to offer you one swipe pigmentation, but they are rather buildable. I find this colorful matte eyeshadow formula to be reminiscent of the Huda Beauty colorful matte eyeshadow formula, where they build up, they aren't very hard to work with, and they're not going to be intimidating to someone that doesn't use color often. I was personally really impressed that the shade Valentine showed up on my skin tone. It took a little bit to build it up, but it did show up and it did look really nice on and true to pan. I really loved working with Commitment and Dream, which were the cream to powder shades. I thought it was really smart that they chose to make the deep purples cream to powder, mainly because purples are notoriously hard to formulate. I really recommend using the cream to powder formula with a very synthetic brush, like the type of synthetic that's pretty plasticky and not trying to be a natural bristle brush. I found that my synthetic brushes apply the cream to powder formula in a really consistent and opaque manner. For the shimmer shades, I found that I got a really sheer application with a brush, and I really preferred using a glitter glue and my finger to apply them to get the most opaque application out of them. If you are going to apply them with a brush, I do recommend something that is as close to natural bristles as possible because I found that the product picked up better on that type of brush. In terms of shade selection, I don't really like the shade First. I find that most people use this type of shade to set their eye primer or as a matte brow bone highlight. However, since I don't like brow bone highlighting and I don't find this type of shade particularly flattering on my skin tone, I really have no use for it, and I find that shades like this tend to be better suited towards paler people. I also don't personally think that the shades Lifetime and Transparent both needed to be in this palette. Lifetime is a little bit more gold, where Transparent leans a little bit more pink, but either way, I didn't think they need to include two very similar light champagne-y shades. That being said, I do really think that this is a very pretty Valentine's Day color scheme. You have the pinks and the reds and the purples, and I believe the pop of silver was a unique choice that pairs really well with the purples. Next, we're going to take a look at some swatches. Let me preface this by saying that this palette swatched absolutely terribly. It swatched like trash. You'll see that I started out with a very synthetic brush, and this wasn't working very well for the mattes or the shimmer shades, so I switched to a brush that was closer to natural bristles, and I found this worked better. For the cream to powder shade, you're going to see me go back to the super synthetic brush because I find that this works best with the cream to powder formula. you guys have gotten a chance to look at the swatches, I'm going to scoot on over this way and we're going to get started with the ingredient review. So this eyeshadow palette actually has about 11 different formulas, and I really do think it says something about the quality to reformulate slightly for almost every single eyeshadow in order to get the best performance out of each shade. However, since these formulas vary only slightly from each other, today we're going to look at the cream to powder formula, the matte formula, and the shimmer formula. Let's start off by mentioning the important things first. This is not going to be a vegan formulation. These eyeshadows do use carmine, which is a colorant derived from crushing the cochineal beetle. Secondly, these eyeshadows are not going to be lip safe because they also use ultramarines as a colorant, which are not approved for the lip area by the FDA. Right now, I'm going to be putting up the cream to powder formula, which is used for both the shades Commitment and Dream. Mica is going to be the bulk of this formula. It's considered a colorant and it's a super common eyeshadow base. The other colorants are going to be listed in the may or may not contain section. The reason why they may or may not contain these colorants is because these are the colorants that cause the shade variations when you use one formula for multiple different eyeshadow shades. The emollients which are going to make the formula more of a cream are the dimethicone, squalene, trimethylsiloxysilicate, and the caprylyl glycol. Squalene can also be seen in a lot of anti-aging skincare, and it's great for your skin. I'm also going to include boron nitride as part of this emollient category because it's a slip modifier. The viscosity controlling ingredients which are going to help the feel of the formula include silica, hydrogenated styrene/isoprene copolymer, zinc stearate, and octadodecyl stearyl stearate. The zinc stearate is generally a white powder and doubles as a colorant. The preservatives in this formula are ethylhexylglycerin and this one that I'm not going to try to pronounce. For the matte shades, we're going to look at the formula that's used for Trust, Intense, and Valentine. The bulk of the matte formula is going to be the synthetic floral phlogopite, and this is a synthetic form of mica. Some companies prefer to use this over natural mica due to the issues with ethically sourcing mica. This formula includes similar emollients to the cream to powder formula, including dimethicone and caprylyl glycol. One emollient that is different in this formula is the triethoxycaprylyl-silane, which is considered an emollient surface modifier. The viscosity controlling ingredients are similar as well, including silica and zinc stearate. One that is different is the HDI cross polymer. HDI polymers are considered anti-caking agents that can also be found in products such as foundations. The only preservative in the matte formula we looked at is ethylhexylglycerin. For the shimmers, we're going to take a look at the formula for the shade Giving. This is one of the specialty duochrome shades in the palette, and I would say Natasha Denona's shimmers show the most formula variations. The emollients in the shimmer formula are going to be octadodecyl stearyl stearate, disostearyl stearate, and caprylyl glycol. The viscosity controlling ingredients in this formula are going to be silica and tin oxide, with the bulking agents being majority calcium-based silicates along with PTFE. That was pretty much it for the ingredient analysis. Next, we're going to go into a demonstration so you can see how some of the shades perform on the eye. Hello friends, Athena here, and this is my first time playing around with the Natasha Denona Love Palette. I did a little bit more of an avant-garde look, but I thought I'd include it for demonstration purposes so you can see how some of the shades go onto the eye. I figured most people went for the reds and the pinks in the palette, so I thought I'd go with the purples so you can see how they go on. So let's get started. First, I'm going to take the shade Dream and a really tiny blending brush and apply that to my lower lash line. Next, I'm going to apply the shade Valentine to my inner corner using a flat shader. Next, I'm going to apply the shade Trust through my crease using a smaller flat shader. Now I'm going to apply my eye primer. Now that my eye primer has been applied, I'm going to take Trust and the same smaller flat shader and add some of the color back. Now I'm going to create a halo with the color Commitment and a small flat shader. I'm going to apply the shade Blind using my finger to the spotlight at the center. Next, I'm going to use the shade Commitment on my small flat shader to blend the edges of the spotlight. Finally, I'm going to use an angled brush and the shade Dream to create a geometric shape at the inner corner that mirrors what I did on the other side. To further define the shape, I'm going to use the small blender. The eyeshadow portion of this demonstration is pretty much done. I'm going to pop off camera to put on some mascara and a bubblegum pink wing, and then I'll be back to show you the finished makeup. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching, and if you're interested in seeing more content like this, please feel free to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you want to see next.